Realized that my dad is my best friend because he's given me a place where I can be free. Wow, it's the greatest gift that I ever got in my life, Dad. You're my best friend because you gave me this life. Um, I'm living in his basement for you watching on YouTube. I don't pay rent and I don't pay utilities, which is a good thing because I only make about $500 a month. Sometimes I make more, sometimes I make less. It's a business where, for example, I had a guy take off for Christmas. He says, "Oh, I'm going away this week for Christmas." Hasn't come back since. So it is what it is, Dad. I'm sorry for saying that you're dead to me. I didn't really have a good outlook because of my depression caused by primarily grains and dairy, being raised as a vegetarian, but in a house where I was fed cereal, Cheerios with cow's milk and bagels on Sunday morning, and then during the week too, bagels and pizza, of course, the number one food of the world, or America at least. Pizza, they give it to kids at birthday parties, and ice cream cake, pizza and ice cream, and noodles, and Anyway, it's terrible what they do to kids. They put them on Adderall because their gut's so messed up with the neurotransmitter production and everything from healthy bacteria. I'm going to go into a video here, which I found on YouTube searching by upload date. So this video is fresh. It's like a day old. So what you're getting here is uh, the cutting edge. This is the most recently developed area. This person who I'm going to show you is a Western trained doctor, so he doesn't have a full picture in terms of health, but they're having to face the undeniable truth, which is the evidence that's coming from their own studies, that the psychiatric model of drugs is outdated. They focus on the neurotransmitters in the brain when the current science is showing that the real root of brain function is the gut. What's up, Steve? So this doctor here, we're gonna just listen to what he has to say, and then I'll comment on it. It's about halfway through, so it looks like 33 minutes left of the video. I don't know if we're gonna watch the whole thing, but I found this on YouTube looking up leaky gut. So I typed leaky gut. I searched by upload date. This was the first one that came up. So I have leaky gut here, which this method is a body reading method. Let me see, do I have my book here? This is a body reading method that's in the Lifefood certified program. Let me just, where is this? I got a binder here. Let me see if this is the one. No. Might Be this one. Okay. Hey, is this it? Wait, this might not be it. It's up here. Okay. Alright, so it doesn't have the... I don't have the thing that I thought I had here. Sorry. But it's similar to this, which is called Iridology. So, the area of my lip that's chapped, that I have a crack in, is right here. This is from shaving. But right here, it's on the lower left side. So my lip has a halfway mark where there's the inside of the lip and there's the outside of the lip. Okay, you see the line there? So the inside and the outside are both inflamed, but the outside is the large intestine, the inside is the small intestine. There's a red line going across where they meet. That's connected to that's corresponding to the Ileocecal Valve. That's where the small intestine connects to the large intestine. That's inflamed on me because by the time that muscle was resting, meaning all the food went into the cecum, the large intestine, that sphincter that separates the small intestine and the large intestine, it's like an internal butthole. So that muscle, it's resting once all the poopy goes past it, okay? Now that muscle can rest. But then I had food coming in behind it. Because how many times are you actually truly empty, where you've defecated, all the poopy's gone, but you haven't eaten again yet? And that really, in today's day and age, requires extended fasting. Me personally, I've noticed that, first of all, I had to defecate out all the food that I ate. But then, several days later, I'm still pooping because there's a mucosal lining. And then there's detox, so stuff's coming out of the tissue. So, I'm having to do cleansing and fasting and continuously try to rest the area. This thing over here, though, is the outside of my lip on the lower left side. So that's corresponding to my colon. And this would be as it's coming back to the middle, it's getting closer to the actual anus. So this is the sigmoid colon. So the colon starts on the lower right side, and it comes up, and then it comes across. That's the transverse colon, and then it comes back down to the lower left quadrant. Then it comes back to the middle, but it doesn't come straight across. It actually comes with a bend to the back, because it comes out the back. So that area where it's bending and shit, that's what this area corresponds to, because I'm doing cleansing and fasting. I did a lot of cleansing over the years, so that I worked my way up to fasting. Okay, and uh, that I have started to do some really solid fasting. That area has been able to rest a little bit so far. I'm going to keep resting it, but I also ate, over the last um, 24 hours. I've eaten, and so that area got food back in it, or not food at this point, it got feces back in it. So I'm going to have to go to the bathroom. So I fasted for several days, but I was still going to the bathroom because of detox and stuff. So this area, it wasn't even able to rest then, because there was a continuous feed of material that's coming out. So the sigmoid colon has to rest, but it and heal itself, but it can only do that when it's not, it doesn't have food in there. So now I have to cleanse, meaning get all the poopy out. Then I have to rest and fast. Don't bring any food in again. And you could do. I'm doing tea and honey, tea and honey. Juicing would be probably okay, but I think that might cause, even though it's just juice, it might cause um, a buildup of, fecal matter. But I'm not going to be fasting indefinitely. I'm going to continue to do a rest active cycle where I'm fasting and then eating. But what all the only thing, yeah, you could do that, bro. Do whatever you want. Calorie free fasting, for sure. Like you can even do dry fasting, which I'm gonna do. I'm gonna work my way up to that. Um, the thing I'm doing this week is fizzy shots or fizzy drinks. I'll show that recipe, and I also have uh, pomegranates that I'm gonna eat for a ceremony. Pomegranate is a what do you call it? A fruit from the Middle East that corresponds to abundance. It's used to celebrate abundance because it has so many seeds. So I'm gonna, because I ate, my cheese, and that's all I'm eating. I figured, since I'm gonna be selling the cheese, I'm gonna use the pomegranate as a ceremony to bring fortune to my, to bring prosperity and abundance to my cheese. And that's the excuse I came up with so I could eat. Because I was eating cheese all day yesterday, so it's like I ate cheese this morning, and now I'm gonna be just doing fizzy drinks to clean out over the next couple of days, and then I'm not gonna eat until at least next weekend, or hopefully longer than that. But I got these palm, and I'm gonna cut the palm, and then I'm gonna play the video and pause if I have to say something about what he's saying. Let's see what kind of pomegranate I got here. Oh, word. Salad, huh? Don't get me hungry talking about salad, bro. So this is how you cut a pomegranate. top off. Okay. Here we go. You got these segments that you can see where the white line is. So you go down, you follow that down to the nub on every one. Okay, and then you crack it. And you break up the things there. Got these ones from the bottom piece. Okay. Got these little seeds there. Okay, now I'm gonna flip the camera around. Ribbit.
That may cause them. So yes, there are sometimes specific dietary proteins that...
Question was about headaches. Most common cause of headaches is the excitotoxic additives in food. He's calling them something about proteins like MSG, excitotoxin monosodium glutamate. Other things could be proteins in food, like food allergens, which he talks about. So that's when you have the leaky gut, those proteins can cross and get into the blood-brain barrier, into the brain. I mean, the other thing could be mold in the gut. If you haven't flushed your liver and gallbladder, you don't have enough bile flow, and that's the stage set for mold, because you need the bile salts to make the area alkaline. They scrub the intestine, the bile salts, and mineralize. So you have hydration. Other elements from the bile cause an eco-sterilization of the intestinal tract. So it's the most important organ, the liver, to keep clean. So if you have mold in the intestine, the excrement of that organism is called a mycotoxin, and that causes, just like Botox, it causes the area to not be able to get blood flow and nerve flow. So you have areas of the brain which can become cramped. Basically, the equivalent would be a cramp in a muscle. And that could be a major cause of headaches, and why they don't go away for so long. People can have headaches that last a long time because the demineralization has caused the nerves to, become shut down. But you're not going to hear an MD talk about bile flow and flushing the liver, and this one especially. Let's see what he has to say.
Or that there's a vascular autonomic response triggered that can then cause headaches. So sometimes, the management of chronic headaches really involves gut function, just like major cause depression may really involve gut function. Hi.
Hi. Sorry. There we go. Hi.
My wife, Dr. Reyes, is here to help me answer questions.
Thank
you so much. Great.
That's good.
Okay.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Okay. So, a lot of people are asking, but I quoted this with Carrie, what do you do if you can't tolerate fiber?
If you can't tolerate fiber, it means that you have...
Can't tolerate fiber. It's called the universal reactor. You have, first of all, the cause from the junk food and things. You have a liver that's blocked. Fatty deposits in the liver and gallbladder called gallstones. They block the flow of bile like it's supposed to be. You end up with an overgrowth of mold and fungus in the intestine, and it can compromise the intestinal wall and establish a colony and cross the, because the roots have grown into the tissue. You now have a blood-brain barrier that's compromised. So anything eaten, even health food, which is the question the lady says, how come I can't have fiber? Because even good food at this point is not going to be able to be processed properly. So that's why in my training that I've received and that I'm passing on as Lifefood certified, we fix the menu so you're not continuously bringing in the stuff, and then you're understanding what the cause of the condition is, which is the food. So we fix the menu, and then the first thing right after that is flushing. So even before fasting, you use the Lifefood certified menu to push out all the junk and then immediately start to clean the body up, starting with the liver, which is the top of the intestinal tract. After the food is chewed, and goes out of your stomach, it's supposed to connect with the liver right there, through the gallbladder.
Have most likely small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and you really have to consider that as one of the diagnoses you need to get ruled out.
Small intestine bacterial overgrowth. The last 4 inches of the small intestine, as it comes across the belly to connect with the colon. Once the food reaches there, that's the longest period of time that the food had. So if you're not cleansed and you have this food that's not eco-sterilized, full of mold, fungus, and yeast, that area of the small intestine is the most affected because it's receiving the most noxious fumes and stuff. And it's the area where the bacteria is strongest, the mold and the fungus. So they call it SIBO, S-I-B-O, small intestine bacterial overgrowth, caused by a liver that's blocked.
If you can't handle any types of fiber, that suggests that, meaning that when you eat fiber, you get immediate bloating, you get immediate distension, you get immediate headaches, you get immediate inflammation, that you may actually have, I'm trying to get my camera straight. You may actually really have small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. The bacteria in the large intestine has moved into the small intestine, and now whenever time you eat, those bacteria ferment, and
he says the large intestine backs up into the small intestine. That's that connection down there called the Ileocecal Valve. So that's a common place. It's the lower right quadrant of the abdomen. And that's the last 4 inches of the small intestine, where, by the way, you're supposed to be making neurotransmitters.
Use those sugars and fibers to populate, and then they can cause an inflammatory response in the body. And in those cases, you got to really manage your small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and you probably want to get the diagnosis. In the Gut Health Solving the Puzzle program, we have a whole section on SIBO and what kind of dietary strategies and things that you can do. But let me just give you the most important ones since you're asking. The most important one is just you immediately need to consider a FODMAP diet, because you got to get the inflammation down throughout your body. And the other thing is, if you can't take dietary fibers, you definitely want to be taking short-chain fatty acids. So you definitely want to be consuming things like butyrate. It's an over-the-counter supplement. And what happens normally is when you eat fibers, your body uses those fibers to convert into a short-chain fatty acid called butyric acid. And then butyric acid, butyrate, turns on regulatory T cells in the gut to dampen inflammation. And these short-chain fatty acids actually have a major impact on glial cell function in the brain. And there's been numerous studies now published where they show when they
All right. Typical Western solution is to put chemicals on top. Flushing with pure turpentine. And what is your opinion? I actually did that a couple of weeks ago, and I wouldn't do it again. I'll tell you why, because maybe I took too much. I don't think so. Unless I took too much, maybe that was the reason. I wouldn't do it again, though. It weakened me. I did it twice. The first time I did it a couple of years ago, I did see a worm come out. So this time, maybe the worm is gone. I don't know why I felt drawn to do it this time, but I felt it when I went back to the gym. I felt weak in my back. I actually got a cramp in my back by my kidneys, and I looked online. That's one of the side effects. You know, I think it can be done safely, although I think next time I would probably put it in a dropper instead of doing what most people did is like use a teaspoon type of measurement, half teaspoon, quarter teaspoon, whatever it is. I think I actually could have used less than that, but that's not going to fix the liver and the gallbladder. So our program gives you back your own strength and ability to heal itself, not to put butyrate on top of a system. Okay, so if you just look at the guy, his system is it has all type of shit piled on top of it. That's why he's chubby. How do I get my program? The simple version is on my website. If you click on where it says free book, masterluki.com. Oh, hold on. We got to go to Lifefood. I think it's under MMA also, to be honest. Free book. Yeah. Okay, so it's called the Master Luki Menu. This is my first recipe book. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 recipes. I tried to put the bare minimum, but you can go to where it says ingredients. This is lifefoodcertified.com, and you can make a recipe with any ingredient on that list. Okay, on Lifefood Certified is the section that says ingredients. So you can use any ingredient on that list. You could use any of my recipes. If you have questions, you can hit me up anytime. Okay. Now, the way that this book is set up on my website is that you print this side on the same piece of paper. You print this on the other side. Okay, so you end up with 4. It's 8 JPEGs here that you can download and fold into a book. That's if you want to do it yourself. This is a free book. If you want me to do it on nice colored paper and then send it to you in an autograph, you can purchase that book. This book. You see where it says donate? At the end, okay? You can donate and get a book. But now, here's the schedule. Monday to Friday, Master Luki menu. Okay, so that means you go over the ingredients list, or you just stick to my recipes. But if you in either case, you stick to that. My recipes come from that list. So if you have the list, you want to do your own recipes. Okay, your salad dressing, whatever you like. You can't have molasses in it because that's made out of, I think, wheat or corn or something, molasses. So you got to use honey. A good honey, not clover. Okay, for molasses pomegranate dressing. You got to be strict to that list, Monday to Friday. Okay. Now, what I didn't put on here is the morning of the flush. I think you should take a laxative like prune juice or something, or some people do Epsom salt. Okay. Then you drink olive oil at 2 p.m. You have a coffee enema, which is optional. Okay. Don't have to do that, but you can. And then the next time you go poop, because you've done a laxative in the morning, but you don't have to. It's just easier to figure out which poop you're gonna look for the stones. Yeah, it's a very basic version of the program. I have more detailed instruction if you're interested. But yeah, so you can connect with me on that website with any other questions. Okay. Right here. About they got email, phone number, Skype, whatever.
Use short chain fatty acids like.
Okay, so when you get the condition of the gut back to what it's supposed to be, the intestinal flora produce fatty acids. So instead of having to rely on butyrate or some other supplement, which is the same treatment that they give people with drugs, just put more chemicals on top of somebody instead of cleansing.
Butyrate, they can manage inflammatory responses of glial cells in the brain.
The liver produces all the anti-inflammatory elements that go down into the gut.
So I would suggest if you can't handle any fibers and you suspect you have a brain gut issue, I mean, from what I can share with you in a live Facebook talk, is definitely consider a FODMAP diet and definitely consider taking some butyrate and see if that can help your general function overall. As just something that's pretty easy to translate in a situation like this. Yes.
Sure. Okay. So this is a very common question also. Understanding everything you're saying, how then do you boost motivation and energy levels to do some of this stuff?
Right. So this is a vicious cycle.
It is.
Low dopamine. His answer ends up being physical exercise. When I studied with Chap to heal my brain injury, I had low dopamine and low serotonin. For the dopamine, we did coffee, which I then further developed the formula to include more powerful herbs. But coffee is something that is easy to get. So to initially, he doesn't have an answer for it. To get people to exercise, he mentions walking. He mentions, just using your mind, like just getting over the first hurdle. But if the brain doesn't have energy, you're not going to be able to do that. So I would recommend dopamine increasing supplements like ginseng or, coffee or some type of caffeinated tea or some type of tea in general. But exercise alone does make a difference. So that's why I'm going to play this. But he just doesn't understand because he's not in the fitness industry. Sometimes you need something more than motivation to get a workout in. And a lot of people do pre-workouts and stuff like that. I take herbs, We're talking about people with depression, which low motivation is a symptom of. So it's not like a kid who's misbehaving. They got energy. They're easy to get motivated, to do exercise in the form of play. But for an adult, you might be able to convince them, with martial arts. I have success, teaching people who aren't, who they just, they're not looking for, let's see, championship levels. But in that case, you can just use the esoteric and mental teachings of martial arts, like discipline and focus and these esoteric concepts, dedication. These are things that you could potentially get a person's gears going without chemicals, what I'm saying.
Because if you don't have motivation, it's really hard to get things done. And I can tell you, as a clinician, a lot of times you see a spouse bringing a patient in. Like the typical thing is you have like a very concerned wife of a sick patient come in and say, my husband's just not functioning, or a scenario, or maybe another family member that's involved. Maybe the sibling is bringing their mom or their dad or something that's happening. And these patients want to get better. They just don't know how. And the fact that they can't comply with a program or initiate a program, even though they want to, is a significant sign that the brain dopaminergic pathways are not working. So it's actually diagnostic. And as a clinician, you start to realize that these aren't personality issues of the patients, that they're physiological. And the problem with it is, to be quite honest, if you're on your own, it's hard. If you can have a family member help you, or you can switch your diet, or your friend, that can be very useful to you. Or just have someone that can carry you along. For example, one of the best ways to raise dopamine.
He basically just said depression is physical, not emotional. Somebody told me the other day, "Oh, you look depressed on your stream. You should have called me." I said, talking to you is not going to fix depression. It has to be dealt with physically.
Dopamine to get you motivated and to get your brain turned on to be able to do things is to exercise. But when your dopamine's low, you don't even want to exercise. Right?
You don't want to exercise, I can tell, buddy.
Breaking that hurdle. If you can break that hurdle, just start to raise it a little bit, and you start to have dopamine activity, then you kind of break out of that vicious cycle. So the best way to break out of dopamine vicious cycle is actually not just diet. It's actually exercise and movement. So if you can get some exercise and movement in, then you can get your dopamine going, and then you can just stay consistent with that. Then you can break out of this vicious loop and try to get some dopamine levels to your brain. Once you get dopamine levels to your brain, then I think it's much easier to then follow through with some dietary and lifestyle change. And that's the model I've been using in my practice with patients over the years.
You look like you've been practicing that diet and exercise, buddy.
That it really does work. But that's my suggestion, and it's not easy to do, but that's really, you got to break out of that, and you got to get your dopamine levels up. And again, the most effective and quickest way to raise your brain dopamine levels is to physical activity.
You can just walk.
You may just.
I want to hear that again, because what I'm hearing is the best way to make a positive change in the world is through sports. I feel like I can extrapolate what he's saying. Where are we at? 32:44? Let's try this.
Once you get dopamine levels to your brain, then I think it's much easier to then follow through with some dietary and lifestyle change. And that's the model I've been using in my practice.
He can't motivate anybody because he doesn't practice what he preaches.
One of the few ways that really does work. But that's my suggestion, and it's not easy to do, but that's really, you got to break out of that, and you got to get your dopamine levels up. And again, the most effective and quickest way to raise your brain dopamine levels is through physical activity.
Even just walking.
The most
You
effective
may
and
just start with the
quickest.
walk. Maybe you're walking. Maybe you want to do a little jog. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just want to walk around the neighborhood. But just getting committed
I'm gonna
to
fight to the
getting enough
death.
of your dopamine, what you have left, to get you to get some movement going. And then as you get some movement,
I don't
want
to walk. I want to fight to the death.
And then that's kind of how you break out of this dopamine vicious cycle and change your brain chemistry. And interestingly enough, what researchers have found is that when people start to exercise, their gut microbiome changes. And they find that when people are sedentary and they start to exercise regularly, that their microbiome species change.
Wow.
They become much more diverse. So physical exercise actually changes the diversity of the gut. So
Cool.
It's not just the immediate effects of exercise is changing dopamine levels in the brain, but it's actually changing the microbiome, which has mechanisms which everyone's still learning of how it may be influencing brain.
Everybody's still learning, haha.
Nancy's saying, do all inflamed guts cause brain inflammation?
Well, the word "all" is a very strong word, but let's just say, yeah. Well, let's just say this.
He can't get a full picture. He's saying, "Oh, we don't know everything yet." Jub knows everything. All right, there's no confusion anymore. The human is a frugivore, but he's obviously not. He's obviously eating animal products and starches. But if you go to Lifefood Certified and you click on where it says anatomy, you have 44. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43. I can't zoom in though. Oh, yeah, I can. Salivary gland size. Okay, the plant eaters all have large salivary glands. The meat eaters have small salivary glands. Peristalsis, length of small intestine. Meat eaters 3 times the body length. Herbivores 20 times the body length. Frugivores, Frugivore, not herbivores. Frugivores 9 times body length. Herbivores 20 times body length. This is the small intestine, what we were talking about, where the brain neurotransmitters are produced here in the small intestine. Okay? You have processes of fermentation and breakdown processes of food that, if they take too long, you end up with too much bacteria, or even if it turns over, the wrong type of bacteria. What's up, Jack Attack? We're talking about the brain of the gut here. This is the most recent YouTube video by Dr. something or other. The connection. I looked it up for leaky gut. It's all about brain function and how it's a product of gut function. Okay, the most recent video on YouTube, this doctor came out 2 days ago. Okay, this is the cutting edge, the most current science of brain function. What he said in the beginning of the video is that the old model, which is to put drugs on people and not consider the role of the health of their gut, that's the old model, and it's become outdated. This is a modern doctor that's saying this. The new model is to address a person's mental state through their gut. Now you have 43 categories on this chart on my website, Lifefood Certified. Comparing the anatomy of the 3 different types of 4 different types of animals. You have the omnivore, the carnivore, the herbivore, and the frugivore. The frugivore is the one that we are, but you haven't heard that. You might have heard omnivore. Some people even say carnivore or herbivore. But an herbivore, which can eat grass like wheatgrass, and all grains are a form of grass. So rice is a grass. Wheat is a grass. Barley and rye and oatmeal, oats, those are all grasses. An herbivore can eat that because the intestine is 20 times their body length. So they're able to break down completely and get the nutrition. But we're not herbivores, we're frugivores. And because the frugivore intestine is only 9 times, not 20 times like an herbivore. Frugivore is an animal that eats fruit, like pomegranate. So one of the reasons why grain consumption is associated with mental disease is because we're not designed to eat grasses. We can't break that down. So you end up with these toxic breakdown products that can cross the blood-brain barrier. As I spoke earlier, you have a condition of leaky gut. So things can get into the brain and they're really not supposed to be there. I forgot what we were talking about. But a modern doctor is not going to, first of all, be Lifefood certified. And so he doesn't have an answer. They have something called FODMAP. I think he also says something about paleo in this video. But none of that addresses the cleansing part either. So even though he's admitting that the drugs model is outdated, he's still recommending butyrate, which is a drug. It's a supplement, but it's an isolate, so it's a drug. It has side effects.
The word in medical research, we don't use the word all. We use the word statistically significant, meaning not due to chance, not due to random chance. So there's paper after paper after paper after paper that shows inflammation in the gut has a statistically significant change in the brain, which means it's not just random. That wasn't just a group of people that they randomly find. That they did data analysis to conclude that this was an actual real finding.
Okay.
So I can only make sure you say it's not all, but it's statistically.
He's saying I can't say all, but yes, all. He said, let's go back and hear that. 3420.
In medical research, we don't use the word all. We use the word statistically significant, meaning not due to chance, not due to random chance. So there's paper after paper after paper after paper that shows inflammation in the gut has a statistically significant change in the brain, which means it's not just random. That wasn't just a group of people that they randomly find. That they did data analysis to conclude that this was an actual real finding. So I can only answer you to say it's not all, but it's statistically significant in data analysis, which means it's real. So there's going to be a percentage of people, we don't know what that percentage is, and we don't know what all the variables are that make some people more prone to brain inflammation. So for sure it's not all, but it's real. And if you have gut inflammatory condition where you always react to foods,
it is all.
Everything you eat causes problems for you, or just you get constant bloating and distension all the time. Listen, you shouldn't get constant bloating, distension all the time. You should have regular bowel movements. If that's not happening with you, your gut is not healthy. If your gut is not healthy, you probably have an inflammatory response as part of the dysfunction. And if that inflammatory response is now impacting your mood, your cognitive function, your brain endurance, now you have this gut-on-brain relationship that may be involved. In that scenario, you have to fix your gut, and you got to figure out what's going on with it. But for some people, that mechanism can cause significant brain inflammation, and for some other people, it may not. The biggest clue that it probably is causing some mechanism of brain inflammation for you is that you're seeing patterns of an inflammatory response in the brain, which be things like depression, fatigue, and a loss of brain endurance.
Okay, this kind of is. Phil is asking, why do some people never experience neurological symptoms even though they eat junk food every day?
Why do some people never experience neurological symptoms? Yeah, I don't know. Why do some people smoke a cigar every day and never have any problems? Because it's not one variable. In the reality of human physiology, it's not one variable. For example, someone who eats junk food, or we can say gets exposed to a toxic chemical, or say smokes cigars every day, some get health, some have serious problems. No, because it's just not it's not just that trigger. That's the only issue. Your body's ability to metabolize it, your antioxidant defense systems, your barrier system.
Honestly, what I think about this, I think some people. Oh, sorry, Steve, I didn't see brand suggestions for what now? What do you want a brand suggestion for? I think there's people who for the flush. Yeah, so the flush is it's just drinking oil and lemon at a certain time. Look up olive oil flush on YouTube and you'll see how a bunch of people do it. I'm basically just gonna give you tips. Okay, it's done at 2 p.m. If you get my book or even just look at the page, it has a schedule. Monday to Friday, Master Leaky menu. Saturday at 2 p.m. you drink the oil. And I even have videos of me doing it on this channel too. Matt, I can honestly say that last night was the best night of my life. This one is by far the best I ever had. And it just keeps getting better. I wish I could tape it. I really do. It's just unbelievable. Thank you. Don't get me distracted though, because I'm not going to see her for a whole week. Oh, and I'm still horny because I did what I had to do. I didn't ejaculate. My testosterone is boosted, and now I'm going to be horny all week. Oh, good times. Where are we going with this? Let's see.
Your genes and how you...
Oh, okay, so why do some people eat junk food and shit, and it seemingly looks like, you have some people, they eat junk food, but then they can't put on any weight. Well, that's a form of cachexia. That's like it's called a muscle wasting condition. They can't put on weight because the bacteria is involved in protein synthesis. So they don't have enough good bacteria. Excuse me. They don't have enough good bacteria down there. Then you get another person who eats, and then they put on fat, or they get bloated. Now, he's saying, oh, we don't know what the variables are, but they do know that it has to do with oh, don't indulge the CIA. I'm not indulging, bro. It is what it is. But I just I have my theories. Well, that's it. You don't want me to talk about it? You don't think it's healthy that I talk about it? Alright, whatever. I could think what I want. It's not harmful, so Anyway, um, let's see. The different levels of bacteria, but honestly, what I think it has to do with um, when the baby's conceived. There's a school of thought, I guess, or a teaching about conceiving at the full moon. A baby who's conceived at the full moon is stronger or something. So I think, a human is an energetic, uh, energetically animated organism. So these influences of the stars, which I do believe in as far as astrology goes, like the different houses that or whatever, the different influences of the planets and shit like that. I think that also affects how a baby, could seemingly have better genes than somebody else. Like it's like to me it would be like flowers. And some flowers, when they bloom, they're like just bigger and brighter. It's the same flower. It's not different genes for different flowers. Like some are strong and some, it's the same gene, but different um, areas of the plant and stuff like that. So I don't believe in um, people having stronger genes.
Clear out different chemicals, all play a role in changing the expression of that one unhealthy variable. So it's a
The expression that's epigenetics.
multivariate system. Human body is a multivariate system. Some people have different variables that protect them, and some people have different variables that make them more vulnerable. Uh, so that's the way the body works.
I was going to say, yet they haven't
Yeah,
experienced something
and
like
these variables that protect them can break down over time. So, like if you smoke a cigar every day in your 20s, that might be different if you smoke a cigar every day in your 40s, or you get exposed to toxic chemicals in your 20s, like a car exhaust and working mechanic shop, it may be different than when you're 40. And you may have some of those things change maybe after you have a disease like celiac disease turn on at some point.
Another thing is um, people who do less. So somebody might be smoking a cigar every day, but maybe he's not or she is not eating a bunch of trash. So what's more harmful? Somebody could live longer doing less. You're open to the effect that moon and stars have on it. Yeah, I don't know much about it either. I know what I know, and you know, I know that some people know other shit. It's all true. It's just, you gotta focus. But
Your lifespan, and now you deplete your antioxidants or other things. So it's a constantly dynamic, multivariate model that's changing all the time. So just because they eat junk food now don't have symptoms doesn't mean that that's going to be them for life. Because I can guarantee you, go to any teenager and give them a junk food diet, they're going to be, I feel fine. But give it time.
yeah, but then for every one of those, you have kids that have to be prescribed ADD and antidepressants.
Is the goal to repopulate the bacterial strains that produce butyrate, or should you just simply give the supplement butyrate?
Exactly.
Right. So if you've done like a comprehensive digestion.
She says, is it better to supplement butyrate or get the probiotics? Meaning, how I would translate that, get the internal health of your system back so that it can produce its own butyrate.
Stool analysis, and one of the things they measure in many of these profiles is your gut butyrate levels, and it's like really low. You definitely want to increase your fiber intake, because we know that fiber intake definitely impacts your gastrointestinal butyrate production. So we definitely want to eat lots of diverse vegetables.
It just sounds like butyrate's a gas that comes off of fermenting plant matter. in a good way.
Vegetables and fruits in your diet. You may even want to supplement with fiber supplements like pectin, guar gum. Natural fiber supplements are available. Lots of different varieties of them. And you may even want to take butyrate. The only thing is, if you're going to take butyrate, it may falsify your GI panel if you take it like somewhere around 7 to 14 days before your GI test. But it may really help you function and feel better in the meantime. So taking butyrate is not going to negatively impact the impact fibers will have. So if you have a very low butyrate level, I would suggest in my clinical setting when I'm working with patients, and that's the only variable that we're considering is just their gut butyrate levels, and there's no other variables.
Prebiotic. I don't think you should think of it as a separate thing. Prebiotics turn into probiotics. It's not like one's eating the other. Lifefood certified is all prebiotic. But some people have unfriendly organisms. Unfriendly organisms that have to be pushed out. So what you're saying is prebiotic, yes. I would just say eat Lifefood certified. Treat that as prebiotic. Pushing out the shit that you don't want. And there is something to be said for probiotic supplementation, because even with the Lifefood certified, because the soil where the food has been grown, it may not have a complete spectrum. The soil that most of our food is grown on is artificially aerated. I saw a movie called Kiss the Ground, I think it was called Kiss the Ground. It's about, how important soil quality is. And there's modern techniques of farming with that's called permaculture. They use companion planting, and they don't till the soil. I don't think. But the movie was all about these practices and how you can actually rebuild the soil. So you can take a probiotic, which I'm going to be advertising over the next week and a half, pretty much 2 weeks. This is the only supplement that I take. It is a probiotic, but it's a full spectrum probiotic. It comes from an untouched soil that's edible. It's made into an edible form. So I'll be getting the very elements of health that I can't get in my food because the soil that the food's grown in has been manipulated, that it doesn't have certain elements that this soil does have because this soil's been untouched. If you look at it, one's like a fresh rose, one is like a a dried up rose petal. The fresh rose would be the probiotic that I'm getting. That's an untouched soil. I'm going to take that for 7 days and do basically what you were talking about, Steve, which is almost a calorie-free diet. Calorie-free fast. So I'll be doing tea and honey and my energy herbs for working out, Yohimbe and Tribulus, and no medical marijuana because I haven't figured out how to make that into a dropper yet. So I don't want to be eating any medical marijuana. What's up, Rick? Tea I take is a mixture of... Oh, what kind of tea? Yerba mate. Yerba mate.
that are important. We'll have them take exogenous butyrate supplements and take a fiber supplement, increase their diet with fiber to get their butyrate levels up.
You puffing a
If we're
doobie
gonna
there,
repeat
Jack
that
Attack?
stool test, we have to make sure they're not on butyrate about 2 weeks before the stool test, so it doesn't cause a false positive, a false number of butyrate. They can still be on fiber, they can't be an actual butyrate. But you definitely want to consider fiber and butyrate to change your gut microbiome and your health.
Okay. Elisa's asking, do you recognize emotional causes of gut issues? I know people who start.
It looks like he has heart disease. He's like very anxious and struggle breathing.
Started getting chronic health issues / gut issues after
#1 killer of people, heart disease.
grieving for many years. And if you do, what you recommend, because not everyone that it's from counseling or.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, sure. There's a psychoneuroimmune response where your thought process, your emotions impact your body, and they impact your gut function, they impact your microbiome. And that's clearly been published studies. They see acts of kindness change markers like secretory IgA, which is an immune globulin in the gut. They see when people watch violence, their gut their SIgA levels drop. So there's been studies that have really,
wow,
even
crazy.
with just a few hours of watching
make a
things on a television set.
I don't know how to do that yet. I'll figure it out.
Can change dramatically.
Tincture,
so we know that there's some definitely powerful psychoneuroimmune responses that take place. So, how do you treat those? I don't know. I mean, those are so complex. I mean, psychoneuroimmunology is tough as it gets. The way people think, the crisis people have.
He's admitting that
psychologically, emotionally.
He's admitting they don't know how to deal with it. Lots of videos on YouTube. Okay, cool. Yeah, the modern the system, and now this is the cutting edge because this video is 2 days old. So this is the cutting edge of the Western model where they're just starting to see the connection of the brain and the gut. But my teacher, Dr. David Jubb, has known about this for a while, and he uses, which they also don't use this, which is called hypnotherapy, and framing is another word of it, or behavioral modification. That is another type of technology that is scientific. It has to do with language. So the person who's asked a question about bipolar, he just said they don't know how to fix it. So they do know how to address things like depression, anxiety, but the extreme cases where somebody who has a brain condition, that's not healthy because of the gut microbiome, but then on top of that they have trauma, like real actions that have been committed on them, whatever the trauma could be, that can cause something that has to be helped with a combination of cleansing and hypnotherapy, which people say the brain has water and that's how it holds memory. So as far as cleansing goes, you have to keep your body's ability to manage waste. So if you're doing hypnotherapy and emotional trauma type of healing, emotional trauma change work, behavioral change, and framing, like what I said in the beginning of the video today, I said I just realized that my dad's my best friend. After thinking that he is a useful enemy, I've come to the realization, or I've come to the frame, which is a way of looking at it, because I don't know either way. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I can only deal with my own viewpoint. So I'm looking at it now, he's my best friend because he's built this room for me to be able to launch from, because I don't have to pay rent nor utilities. Now, he did say that if I don't go to massage therapy school, he's going to kick me out. And I actually missed the cutoff by a week. So I have to wait till May if I want to get in on the next class. So the next time I see him, he's under the impression that this was going to be my first semester, and he wants to see proof. So hopefully he won't kick me out. I'll say, Dad, please don't kick me out yet, because I missed the cutoff. You know? So anyway, these extreme cases, they don't know how to deal with it. The current model is to fucking just drug people down and turn them into a zombie, because nobody knows how to deal with it. But if you get with a hypnotherapist who's going to reframe your trauma, and you do cleansing to be able to let those memories be changed. So you have like a three-dimensional structure of water that the memory is held in, the brain. And as that structure changes, maybe there's a replacement of water. You know, a pathway gets manipulated, so you go this way instead in your thinking, you know. Rick, I know you're a massage therapist, but all that it takes to be a legitimate massage therapist in New York. I don't know about where it is by you, but you have to have a license. You can't just give massages. Yeah, the license. Yeah. I mean, that's my parents' plan for me, because I've been in the basement here for a few years, and my dad said, you're in the same spot where you've been. You're not going anywhere. When are you going to give it up? You need to be making money. My mom said, why don't you go to massage therapy school? And my dad said, if you don't do it, I'm kicking you out of the apartment.
Is beyond my level of understanding.
Hey,
but
he admits it.
Those are real. Now, in the clinical setting that I've always been in my practice, is I see patients suffer from those. I don't know how to fix those for them, and it's not my level of expertise. I encourage them to seek whatever they find helps them. For some of them, it's spirituality. For other of them, it's support group.
Spirituality and support group. Yeah, he made me an offer I can't refuse, Rick. That's a good one, bro. All right, so he says, look, I don't know what to do when somebody has severe trauma on top of a gut condition. I don't know what to do, so I advise them. He says, I advise them to seek. That's your answer, is to tell them to find their own way with spirituality and support groups. A hypnotherapist is what you need.
Them meditation, combination of things. Maybe sometimes you have to sit down and deal with their own demons.
Deal with their own demons. See, exactly. He's coming from a clinical practice which doesn't recognize hypnotherapy as legitimate. They do psychotherapy, they do psychiatry, and they do counseling. All of that is either to get you on drugs or to get you back in the office for another consultation. There is no healing. And it pisses me off. This motherfucker's, Harvard has got a flag. Harvard Medical School. You're fat. You don't know how to work out. You don't know how to eat right. And you should take the people that you can't deal with and send them to me. Doesn't matter how traumatized they are, I can help get them healthy. And I won't tell them to go find their own way. I wouldn't give up on them. But you would. So easy to give up. He's weak. Oh, I went to Harvard. He got brainwashed.
It's not my experience.
But the truth is coming.
Taste, but something has to be there. But in the meantime, they're unhealthy. They're having struggles because their gut immune function is compromised. So then in those cases, we're trying to improve their gut immune function, maybe their brain function, so they can function to the highest level they can without ongoing stress. And that probably also is going to make it easier for them to untangle their secondary immune issues because it's all interrelated. How your brain impacts your gut, and your gut impacts your immune function, and how your gut and immune function impacts your brain, and how your brain function impacts your emotions and your cognitive issues are all interrelated. So, a lot of times you're trying to just do what you can with your skill levels as a clinician, and you can't address all of it. But if you also address those things, it may make the other things that are more possible. So, for sure.
Oh, whatever helps you sleep well at night, I guess. Fucking guy.
But the psych part of it is complex, and I don't have much great information to share with you about what I know how to do with it.
Okay. Shannon, do people who suffer from Hashimoto's a lot of times suffer from leaky gut?
Yes. So people suffer from Hashimoto's absolutely.
Hashimoto's is leaky gut?
Sure. A population of them have leaky gut. We're actually doing a study right now. We've got this 400 patient samples of patients that autoimmune where we checked leaky gut, and we took patients that had TPO antibodies and thyroglobulin antibodies that didn't have TPO and thyroglobulin antibodies. We want to see if there was a statistically significant change in a marker called zonulin, including antibody in actomycin. We found for individuals that have Hashimoto's that they have a statistically significant correlation for having leaky gut compared to the
That's right.
And that's what we're finding for most of the autoimmune disease in our study. So, but not all people that have Hashimoto's.
With all
there are people that have Hashimoto's.
With all the progress they're making in diagnostics, they're never going to get the full picture because they are still using the food pyramid. So that's the cause, and they're seeing the effects, but they're not tracing the effects back to the cause. They're just, oh, let's just be confused and fucking admit that it's not our area of expertise. Holy, this is the fucking most current video on YouTube, and he says we don't know. I know. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do tomorrow. I'm gonna finish the rest of this book that I've did part 1 and part 2 on. Part 3 tomorrow. People need to know this shit. How to truly heal a brain gut condition.
That have other triggers for their Hashimoto's that is not gut related. The problem we have is we have everyone assume that if you have an autoimmune disease that it's got to be leaky gut. And if you fix leaky gut, you fix the autoimmune disease. That's not how it works.
Let's go, baby.
So it is much more complicated than that. But you definitely don't want to ignore the gut when it comes to any autoimmune disease because healthy gut function is so important for immune modulation and immune integrity. So I don't know if I answered the question.
That's why everybody's getting COVID now, because they all eat the same. Plus 5G.
Yeah. Okay, and then people are asking, what does SIGA stand for?
Oh, I'm sorry. SIGA stands for secretory immunoglobulin A, and secretory immunoglobulin A is an antibody that's on the gut barrier, and what it does is it basically protects the gut dendritic cells from overactivity that promotes inflammation. So when you eat food particles, we talk about this in the gut health solving the puzzle program that we talked about. I go through and teach you all the different steps of how the gut works. But one of the mechanisms that prevents us from having an over-exaggerated inflammatory response is we have to have healthy amounts of this SIGA, secretory immunoglobulin A. And secretory immunoglobulin A coats as a barrier our gut and our lung epithelium and our nasopharynx epithelium. So when food particles or environmental toxins
man, obviously there is science there that you have a course that you took
cover it up,
or a certification.
Cells called
they know that nutritional therapy is a thing. They just have to be more refined. That's all. So, Jump's technology is only less than 20 years old.
Psychological responses, sedentary lifestyle.
You're on the cutting edge.
Have all been shown to impact these SIGA levels. And if these SIG levels are depressed, then we're very prone to getting inflammatory responses in our gut that can then break down our tight junctions and maybe disrupt our brain gut axis and so forth. So that's what SIG is.
Okay, and how can you help chronically low SIGA?
How do you help chronic low SIGA? You treat the whole gut and you treat the whole person. There is no single protocol for it. Like you can't just have low SIGA and say, oh, you need to take vitamin A or you need to take this
whatever
probiotic. It's a reflection of immune function. And SIGA levels will change when you change the gut's environment and its overall immune function. So it's a surrogate marker for your overall gut immune health. And it's not going to be one thing that fixes it. For some people, they'll never fix it until they make some drastic change.
Wow. They'll never fix it, huh? Ooh, I'd like to get my hands around you. You're not strong enough. I'll fix it.
It's like an example could be a person who is gluten sensitive and they finally commit to being 100% gluten free. And then they finally
there's no gluten in Lifefood.
Steps through healing their gut, and they may kind of in the past kind of partly gluten free and taking all these supplements that didn't really work. But until they make that final commitment, those levels don't change. So it's a good marker to see.
You can't heal and toxify yourself at the same time.
There's a protocol that's dictated by levels being low.
Okay. Is there a connection between gut health and POTS? POTS?
Is there a relation between gut health and POTS?
Mm-hmm.
Not directly. POTS being a postural orthostatic syndrome where people stand up and they fall and get dizzy is really associated with autonomic dysfunction, cerebellar dysfunction, dysautonomia.
Blood pressure.
Many of those patients
blood pressure and nerve
that
force
I've worked with have autoimmunity, like they have antibodies to the brain, then antibodies to the cerebellum, and then there's a gut component to try to unwind that power for them.
Knock him out?
There's some interrelationships with each other with some patients, but it's not direct.
He probably doesn't even train. I'll challenge him to a fitness contest.
Sorry. So Sean's asking, what gut tests do you find?
Come on, you go to a doctor. They're supposed to be healthy. They're supposed to be, they're supposed to know what health is. It's like, does this guy know what health is? I can see, it's very much a lot of meat.
The most accurate and helpful.
Oh, okay. As far as functional medicine, so it depends on what you're looking for in the gut. You can do you need to do a hydrogen methane test.
It is pissing me off though. I'm just imagining him just like fucking eating. All of the pain that I've gone through losing my kids is nothing compared to what people have had to go through the last century of psychiatric abuse, in shock therapy and drug therapy. Oh my God. Ribbit. Oh gosh. And here I am just fucking sitting here. Still to this day, people are suffering from abuse of the medical industry. And this fucking guy's high in a hog. Oh. Me. That's why I have to do fasting. I have to get in touch with the God energy and, grow up from the roots. No fat on my body. There's no, what's that word? When you go to an extravagant part. No decadence. There's no decadence inside me. Once I'm cleansed out, there's barely even any food inside me. There's just, and then eventually I'll work up to dry fasting. So, then I can criticize, somebody like this, and I'll have, of course, the science to back it up. But if I criticize somebody and they say, oh, what makes you so perfect? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, what makes you the authority on health? If I say this motherfucker here, he doesn't look healthy, how could you trust him? he's trying to tell you. He straight up admits they don't know what to do. And then you look at him, and I'm criticizing him and saying, no, you don't know what health is. I do. And then so, you know, of course, they're going to say, well, we'll look at you. And then I'll say, yeah, look at me. I got to build a little more muscle, you know. And when I say build a little more muscle, I probably should say I got to just get stronger. So I got a new medicine ball for Christmas. It's heavier. And I'll keep training and keep on fighting.
If you're looking for SIBO, you may need to do an upper GI because you're looking for
keep on fighting, guys, like this.
Anatomical changes.
Because if you're not with me,
maybe like which
you're
comprehensive
against
digestive stool analysis. So in my practice, I like the one through Genova. Genova Laboratories does a comprehensive digestive stool analysis, and that's the one I use in my practice. I find them to be
you like
reliable.
that stool analysis, huh?
Like the laboratory, I feel that they do a good job.
What's TUT, Steve?
Abby's asking, do people who suffer from bipolar, those kinds of disorders, do you often find them to have leaky gut? Is that a component?
You know, bipolar disorders, I mean, real bipolar issues are really complex. I can tell you when I work with patients and one of their chief complaints is bipolar, I get a little nervous.
Okay.
Because I don't know what all the variables are that are affecting their bipolar expression. And I don't think it's very clear. You know, a lot of times you're just trying to optimize their health and physiology as best you can, because at the end of the day, you're trying to treat the health of the patient overall, not just any kind of condition, to see what their body is capable of doing to balance themselves out. But I don't have any direct silver bullet to give you for bipolar. Other than it's a complex disease, probably with multiple variables, and at some point you just need to focus on the overall health.
Bipolar is related to sugar.
Reduce the expressions versus any kind of like nutrition for neurotransmitters like GABA or something like that.
Sometimes it's even worse if they're doing energy drinks or sodas or something.
Sharon's asking, is healing the gut inflammation one of the steps to heal brain inflammation?
Yes, absolutely. Treating the gut inflammation is absolutely one of the most critical steps to treating brain inflammation. Whether it's traumatic brain injury, whether it's a neurological autoimmune disease like multiple sclerosis, whether it's just chronic brain fog, whether in this case you're talking about depression, treating the gut is one of the critical factors we find be essential in a functional medicine model. And yeah, I mean, this is the thing. People sometimes chase their brain symptoms forever and ever, and they really need to fix their gut. So it's absolutely critical. And we know that dendritic cells and immune cells in the gut directly turn on glial cells in the brain. There's a very, very clear activation of one to the other. So you can't see brain inflammation and not think of gut inflammation. We also know studies show that when in animal studies, when they induce brain injury, that leaky gut takes place right away. And as soon as the microglial cells in the brain turn on and that inflammatory cascade turns on the brain, we see similar aspects in the gut. So whether it's brain inflammation first, then you get leaky gut and gut inflammation, or gut inflammation causing brain inflammation, there seems to be a very connected loop between each other.
Huh.
Okay, so this is Maine is asking, what would be the best diet then for depression?
What would be the best diet for depression? Well, I think the best thing to say is there isn't the best diet for depression, but let's just say we assume that your depression may be gut related. Okay, it may not be gut related. There's other mechanisms for depression that are not gut related. Those could be different topics.
Oh, he's already making excuses. The whole video is about depression being caused by a gut condition, and then he finally gets a question about depression, and he says, "Oh well, there's other factors. It might be something. It might not be the gut." Already he's making excuses because they don't know how to fix it. They don't know that there is a diet for depression. You can't have grains. You can't have beans. You can't have food that's molding in the intestine. You got to get on a Lifefood certified menu. You got to clean the liver and the gallbladder out. Then the intestine can get its condition back, and then you can keep the intestine clean for longer periods of time without having to eat and let the actual intestinal tissue heal itself. That's the last part that I'm up to on this program. I changed my menu 100% over a course from 2005 until basically 2015. I went on a rest active cycle. Every time I went back to eating something not on the Lifefood certified list, I started to feel like it wasn't right. So once I learned about what Lifefood certified is, I gradually, and you don't have to, it doesn't have to be gradually. You can just make the switch and I'll help you with that. Because I didn't have anybody to do this for me. Dr. Jubb set an example, but he also has a teaching of meeting people where they are. See, I'm a sword. He's more of a flute. Okay, some people are warriors, some people are musicians. He meets people where they are. For example, when I went to go see him, we smoked the peace pipe multiple times a day. He smokes. He smokes the peace pipe with tobacco on the bottom and weed on top. And this was in 2013, so I don't know if he's still doing that, but it was an all-day affair. Getting a hot drink, whether it's tea or coffee, sitting around, passing the peace pipe. Some of the best time in my life. That was when he taught me how to heal brain injury nutritionally, and also he gave me a basic understanding, which I'm still studying, about the role of language in brain function, how you can speak and frame and then speak to access the full brain function, what he calls whole brain functioning. So, whole brain functioning was his method for framing and training executives and healers to help people, be their best self. So a human's a social animal. The greatest leaders have high EQ. So I have to learn how to build a team. And that's what I call the League of Champions. So that's my brand. That's my way of passing along Dr. Jubb's teachings that he's given to me of brain function and health food. Vaping, no. No, it's not a natural thing. I'm sorry. Definitely not. But I can certify you in Lifefood, though, for sure. There's levels, and Jubb gave me the okay to build a Jubb Institute, an online Jubb Institute. So message me and we'll get you started in your certification. I'll make worksheets, because this is something that I have to do anyway for the Jubb Institute. So I'll make a header, and I would say if you want to learn about Lifefood Certified, message me. I can send you things to study for the while I make up the worksheet. All right, I'll send you specific videos that I'm gonna have a worksheet about. Like, for example, what's the difference between regular salt and Celtic salt? And then you have to write, about that regular salt is mined from a rock. Celtic salt is drawn from the edge of the ocean. So it's a sun-dried salt. It actually still has a degree of moisture that's not present in the mined rock. And that moisture is now I'm thinking out loud, so I have to write this worksheet up. But there's a difference between inorganic and organic. There's a difference between dead and alive. So the minerals in Celtic salt are actually living minerals, and they are able to hydrate. So people think, water hydrates, but if you just drink water with no minerals and you don't have minerals, the water is not going to be able to attach. So the living minerals in Celtic salt make it slightly more moist than mined salt. But then because it has this moisture, it's able to provide two elements which, when you have no moisture in a salt, you can't have these elements. They're trace elements. They're hydrophilic, meaning they attach to water, and one is called fluorine and the other one is called iodine, I think. I know fluorine definitely is the one, and I'm pretty sure it's iodine, but there's other trace elements. If you look at the profile of Celtic salt and flower of the ocean, the trace minerals are the exact trace minerals in the exact ratio that we're supposed to have in our blood, and that's because we came from the ocean. Steve, I distill my water and add sea moss or Celtic salt. Okay. So you know about that. Let's see. The next one after that is knowing what makes something Lifefood certified. So what's the significance of the list that I have on the website there, Lifefood certified? Why aren't pineapples on there? Why aren't bananas on there? So what you have to understand is that we as frugivores, we have a system that's evolved to be fruit eaters. And then in botany, you have peppers as fruits. You have quinoa as the seed of a fruit, so that's still considered a fruit. That's botany. Okay, cucumber's a fruit. But grains are not fruits, they're grasses. But then you also have fruits that aren't really natural. So if you look up the history of the pineapple, the date, the banana, the carrot, the beets, how they actually were a man-made hybrids. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you probably know a lot. All right, so let's see. After that, once you know the what makes Lifefood, as far as ingredients goes, you have preparation. So you want to make it easy to digest. If we went back in the video, there's a part where somebody talks about how they could actually have a bad reaction to fiber. That's because the system itself isn't functioning the way it's supposed to. So even good food can't really be processed right. So we have to do flushing. But to do flushing, we have to fix the menu. So how can somebody be on a Lifefood certified menu, but they can't really eat anything because the system is so messed up? So we can do things like blending using a Vitamix, which liquefies things. So if you have a double blended sea moss, you can make like a creamy yogurt or a parfait or even an ice cream. You can have something like a broth soup or a blended soup, or you can blend something and then dehydrate it like a cracker, and that's more easy to digest because the Vitamix processes something as if you had chewed 1,000 times. So most people, when they chew something just enough so they can swallow it. But the Vitamix, it breaks it down to the smallest particle, so everything is actually pre-digested. What's up, RO? So you have the concept of life force. You know, these are like modules. The concept of life force, the idea of hybrids, and what actually is a natural food, you know, to be on the Lifefood certified list. Then we're getting into recipes. So you probably have to provide some type of sample recipe or sample menu, okay, to have a Lifefood certified menu. And then you're going to have to get into cleansing after that, learn how to flush your liver and gallbladder, and do that until you have flushed it all out. So you're going to have stones that you poop out, and then you're going to have pebbles, and then you're going to have little beads, and then you're going to have flakes, and then you're going to have sludge. As you continuously flush the liver out, it could take 20 flushes, could take 10 flushes, you know, depending on how you do it and what you do to enhance your flush. Some people can just completely flush the liver out over a period of time. Some people, like me, it took me a longer time because I did a couple of flushes and then maybe I went back and I ate junk food or something. So, you know, it took me probably longer than it should have to completely flush the liver out. But after that, you know, that's about where I am. I'm getting into more of a healing, like as far as modules go. The next one would be more about whole brain functioning, so that I can actually help people heal themselves.
Right.
But right now, we're talking about the role of the gut. And if it is gut related, listen, it depends on where your gut's breaking down. You could literally have a gallbladder issue as your only major gut issue. You can't digest fats and turn into something fatty, you dig fish holes, you burp, and you get bloated. And since you can't release bile acids impact FXR receptors, and you can't control gut function, you can't change your microbiome because of this underlying gallbladder issue. The thing to say is there isn't the best diet for depression, but let's just say we assume that your depression may be gut related. Okay, it may not be gut related. There's other mechanisms for depression that are not gut related. Those could be different talks.
Right.
But right now we're talking about the role of the gut. And if it is gut related, listen, it depends on where your gut's breaking down. You could literally have a gallbladder issue as your only major gut issue. You can't digest fats and turn into something fatty, you dig fish holes, you burp, and you get bloated. And since you can't release bile acids impact FXR receptors, and you can't control gut function, you can't change your microbiome because of this underlying gallbladder issue, and that could be the reason why you can never fix your gut. So in your case, that diet would be a gallbladder diet as you try to resolve your gallbladder issues. For someone else, they could have an H. pylori infection. For someone else, they could have the classical leaky gut. For someone else, they could have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So that's part of the reason I put together the gut health solving the puzzle protocol, to kind of teach you where to look instead of breaking down. It's like you don't just treat the gut. You got to figure out what parts of the gut are breaking down. And we have a concept called north to south. So again, check out Dr. K News, and you can get more information about
north
that.
To south
that's
menu.
So there isn't a
flush,
specific diet for depression. You first have to find out the mechanism of depression, and if it's gut related, then you got to figure out where in the gut things are breaking down.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. You spoke about this a little bit, but the role of sugar in gut health?
The role of sugar?
Yeah.
Well, you know, everyone likes sugar. Yeah, you don't. No, he doesn't like sugar. She does. She doesn't know it.
I don't
Anyways, so sugar is one of these things that can obviously increase the growth of opportunistic yeast. So when the immune system is down, like for example, if your SIGA, your secretory IgA is down, for whatever reason, maybe lots of stress, not enough sleep, sedentary lifestyle, a combination of all of those, and then you have a lot of sugar, that's different than when your immune system is healthy. So if your immune system is down and you eat a lot of sugar, that tends to create these yeast overgrowths. And very interesting, yeast and bacteria produce their own secondary metabolites. And these bacteria and yeast metabolites have been shown to impact brain function and mood. So if you end up with a bacterial overgrowth or a yeast overgrowth or a change in the bacterial species in the gut, they released gut peptides that have been shown to have an impact on mood. So for some people, like sugar can totally cause severe depression for them. So when they start getting on a sugar binge and they start eating a lot of sugar,
some people,
they can end up with massive depression and motivation issues. And it's not until they cut off their sugar and start to make those drastic changes and get out of their sugar addiction period of time that they can start to get their brain function and mood to change.
Hilarious!
So that's an impact.
Okay, people are asking about vagal nerve stimulation and anything tips for people to do at home.
Yeah, vagal nerve stimulation is so funny because I was just talking to Elaine, who helps me, and Dr. K-News and so forth. And
so funny, he says.
We talked about the vagus over 20 years ago and how it affects brain function. Now it's like the new buzzword everyone's talking about.
20 years ago, and you still don't know what to do.
20 years ago.
Why, Iota?
People talk about brain function. Like the vagus is involved when you're not getting enough input to the gut. And this is, for example, if you have a neurodegenerative disease, if you had a brain trauma, unless you activate the vagus, you can't get the gastrointestinal system to work. So there are lots of patients who have early neurodegenerative disease. There are patients who've got injury to the brain, and that injury to the brain has caught up with them over time, and they're just not getting enough input to their gut through the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve, when it's activated, gets blood flow to the gut, gets circulated, gets activation of enzymes in the guts, and activates smooth muscles of the gut. So in the past, what I used to do with patients that had brain injury or neurodegenerative diseases to impact their gut function is to gargle and do vagal exercises. So gargling with water is one of them. Singing loudly is one of them. Those are the two easiest ones.
Good thing I'm practicing singing.
If you check out my brain book, Why Is My Brain Working? We have a whole chapter on the brain gut access protocol. It goes into it with much more detail. But again, the easiest one is gargling. And then the gut program, we have a whole section on vagal exercises. But the main one is gargling with water aggressively.
Okay.
Perfect.
Gargling with water aggressively.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's your answer.
What is the number one thing that helps with LG?
What is the number one thing that helps with LG? I don't know what LG is.
I don't know what LG is either.
Leaky gut.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't answer that one.
Okay.
Leaky gut, buddy.
Someone's asking for a topic of suggesting.
Topic? Well, by the way, just so you know, just for the next, so this month we're really trying to get people aware of our gut program. So the topics we're going to be doing the next 4 weeks will be just on the gut. Then we're launching our gut health, solving the puzzle program the first week in February, and then we'll have some live Q&As for those that are enrolled in that program, and video series week by week to teach you how to go through it. It's a 4-week program, and then we'll
this
then
is
get
Facebook
into
Live, huh?
the food sensitivity course after that in March. But if you sign up for the gut program, we're giving everyone the food sensitivity course for free. And in the food sensitivity course, I explain all the immune and non-immune reactions to foods and just kind of clarify all the different concepts between allergy and food sensitivity and different types of food sensitivity testing that's out there with the actual literature. So we can really clarify things. You find out what LG means?
Leaky gut.
Leaky gut.
We're so awesome.
Yeah, we're not up to date with the terms.
We're so lame.
Well,
Okay,
so
what would be the number one, like, if someone was saying, I have leaky gut, like, what do you think I should do?
Okay, so if you have leaky gut, here's what you should do. You should figure out what the cause of your leaky gut is. And it's usually a combination of things. So the fact you have leaky gut, there's going to be food proteins you're going to be reactive to. Whether you're reactive before the leaky gut, a cause of your leaky gut, the fact you have leaky gut, you're going to start reacting to certain food proteins. And to be quite honest, it'll probably be the foods you're eating regularly. And it might even be the foods you're craving. Those are be the most common proteins. The most inflammatory proteins for leaky gut are gluten, milk protein, albumin, which is egg protein, and
that's
corn
you?
and soy. Those are the most common inflammatory food reactions. You probably have to go off those foods, follow what's called a leaky gut diet, and then do things to repair your gut. Now, the X factor in all of this is how is your gut function, what we call from north to south? Do you have a gallbladder issue? Is your pancreas working, releasing enzymes? Do you have
what should I write on this thing?
Acid? Do you have an infection in your gut getting in the way? I mean, for example, H. pylori is number one infection. That H. pylori organisms, most of them are in the duodenum, in the small intestine, which is where leaky gut takes place. A lot of people have unresolving leaky gut, despite any supplements they take, is they have this silent H. pylori infection. So I think I go over 20 different mechanisms that cause leaky gut in the GI course. But those are all the different variables. Now, the best place to start without getting into a lot of detail is just get off inflammatory foods. Just do a simple autoimmune paleo diet. Start taking things like glutamine and short chain fatty acids like butyrate.
He said autoimmune paleo diet. I'm pretty sure Lifefood Certified could fit into that. Paleo wouldn't be able to fit back into Lifefood Certified because a lot of it is meat-based. But as far as I know, paleo is no grains, no dairy. So on that, and no hybrids. So on that level, we can make something work. But I'm reading here this comment is about somebody who's supposedly trying to heal small intestinal bowel bacterial overgrowth. I wonder if I should write something on here. I'll write something. I have a no, hold on. My program is designed, my program is natural healing of the gut, free consultation, 24/7. My program is natural healing of the gut, free 24/7. How about that? My program is natural healing of the gut, free 24/7. Gut and brain. Comment. Boom.
Try to increase your diet with more fibers. And if that helps you, great. If that doesn't help you...
But you see how he's saying, if it helps you, great. If it doesn't, he doesn't know for sure. And he, first of all, he has the food pyramid under everything. So the bottom level is completely wrong. And then everything built on top of that, without addressing that, is not going to work out. That's why he doesn't know what to do. And everything he can recommend is his best guess, because it's not based on the truth. So it has a very shaky foundation. Everything that he's recommending is his best guess. And then also, he doesn't know anything about whole brain functioning language. So even if he did have the right program, he's very like wishy-washy. I'm a blade, buddy. I'll cut it right down for you. Cut it down to the core.
GI course. But those are all the different variables. Now, the best place to start without getting into a lot of detail is just get off inflammatory foods. To just do a simple autoimmune paleo diet. Start taking things like glutamine and
put more drugs on top.
Great, and try to increase your diet with more fibers. And if that helps you, great.
Try.
If that doesn't help you after, like, let's say 30 to 60 days, then you got to go
3
deeper,
days.
And that's where you start to have to figure out what's going on.
I'll fix you in 3
It's
days.
just a very basic leaky gut scenario. Just by going on an autoimmune paleo diet, eating more diverse plant
autoimmune paleo,
glutamine as a supplement,
glutamine,
and some short chain fatty acids like butyrate should heal it. And if it doesn't, then you got to figure out why. Okay.
Oh, if it doesn't, figure it out. Put it on somebody else, huh?
People with multiple traumatic brain injuries, concussions, that kind of stuff, the role of depression and
if you have a traumatic brain injury and you have
gut issues,
and let's say you have traumatic brain injury.
All right, I had enough of you. Look, if you have traumatic brain injury, like I did, and you have a gut condition, like I still kind of do, you're getting fucked both ways. The brain injuries are bad by themselves, not to mention, but most everybody has this gut condition, so people aren't happy like they should and could be, but then you do have to fucking look at it from the point of view of somebody who has a brain injury. That's just going to make it worse. You can exaggerate.
Celiac disease, and you have inflammatory bowel syndrome, and you have the early signs of MS.
You still got to clean the gut, though.
10 things all at once. You still do the basics. You still reduce your inflammatory load. You still try to improve your gut microbiome. You still make sure you can digest enzymes. You still make sure your vagus is working. Like, you still follow the basic strategies. So it's really no different than anything else. It just means you're more challenged in that path, in those pathways, and you may have a slower response rate than people that may not have as many layers and layers of stuff that are involved.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay. Anyways,
sorry, people are just laughing that we didn't know what LG like you got.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Finally, I can minimize this dang old page. Okay, now what's this now? Blackouts coming. Food, water, gasoline, cash. Okay, this is my Q fucking friend. Oh shit, it's 25 minutes long? Dang, bro. Alright, well look, I got one more pomegranate to eat. And then I'm fasting. So, where is it? I'm gonna do a pomegranate. I'm gonna maybe make some tea. I don't know. It seems like there's a few people on, so I won't go yet. PBS, what's up? So, Master Leaky Brand is going to try and fix those two things that he just quit on. Traumatic brain injury and gut condition. So, by growing my League of Champions to be a legitimate sport on the level of the Olympics, I can offer a safer alternative and eventually push brain injury sports out of the marketplace. Make them financially not viable. that I take up so much of the market share. Maybe I buy them out or whatever. And they're just not illegal, but people don't mind that they're gone. Kind of like, I don't know, what other sports? I don't know. Do you guys want to watch Q or no? I don't know what this guy's gonna say. Maybe I'll just end the stream. We're not gonna watch Q. I am going to do some vocal training in a little bit. This is how you do a pomegranate, by the way. Cut the top off. Cut along the segments. Okay, and then you just crack it. The pomegranate is an original fruit. It wasn't hybridized. It's used in ancient ceremonies to, attract abundance. If you look how many seeds there are. I sacrifice, I do an alchemical sacrifice of my own energy to digest these. In exchange, I'm attracting the energy of production. So that I can continue to make my brand valuable. More valuable. What's up, Jay? Okay. Alright, you out, Steve? Cool, email me.
Hello and welcome to another update. The 10th, and as perhaps many of you would expect, I haven't been had many hours sleep. It's been quite an interesting evening, and I want to go in and tell you stuff that perhaps is new to you and some that might not be, but we'll give you some clarification. Okay, it's not unusual for me to receive messages at all times of the day and the night, but the message that I received yesterday started off with the words, "This is not a drill." And those of you who've served in one way or the other, you will know what that means. So I immediately realized that this was not the normal message, in the sense that it was intel yet to happen. This was something of a great significance. The original plan was for the president at midnight Eastern time, that's the East Coast, to make an address to the people, with Mike Pompeo doing half an hour release on Twitter, then every 15 minutes, then every 10 minutes, then every 5 minutes. That was the original plan, a sort of a countdown. That's what the military wanted. That didn't happen in the end because events overtook what was to happen. 8 days ago, I was told to expect this action not yesterday, but Wednesday to come. So I wasn't expecting this until 3 days or so time, and I had a whole plan laid out to alert all my coordinators, for them to pass it on to the members and then to the general public. That plan went out the window because this operation was brought forward. I need to explain to you what's happened, why that's had to be brought forward. Those of you who've done your research and those of you who haven't, have a good look. You'll know that Pakistan suffered a huge power outage. About 40% of the country, that's a big country, 40% of the country was out. For most people, they scratch their heads and say, well, we've never heard Pakistan in the news. What's all this about? And I'd like to tell you. General Electric for those of you who don't know, is a very big defense contractor. It's an American company, and the F-16, I believe, the General Dynamics F-16, I believe, used a General Electric turbojet or a fan jet. Many American fighters have General Electric as the engine. There are three main big companies. One is Pratt & Whitney, the other is General Electric, and the other, of course, is Rolls-Royce. If I've forgotten any of you engine manufacturers, I'm very sorry. Right, President Trump is not at all happy with American companies being sold to China, and most of the employees of General Electric didn't realize that they were on the verge of having their company sold to a Chinese conglomerate. And as you know, all Chinese conglomerates lead to the Chinese Communist Party. The offer bid was $5.4 billion. The deal was to take place in Pakistan. When the Chinese realized that Donald Trump was onto them, predominantly through Nancy Pelosi's laptop and 15 others that were taken during the mayhem in the Capitol building, they brought forward this deal. They wanted General Electric to get across into China very quickly. And can you imagine if you were in the United States Air Force or any European Air Force and you should go to war with China, you would be flying an aeroplane and fighting an aeroplane that had the same engine that you had. That was not ever going to happen. And so what happened was that the plan to go live on Tuesday or Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday, was brought forward to last night because the Chinese have brought forward their plan to sign the deal, which was to take place in Pakistan. That is why there was an outage in Pakistan. Let's move on quickly. I've only had one report, and those of you who know me, that I don't go live with you guys until I have two independent reports telling me the same thing. I cannot confirm that the Italian Prime Minister has been arrested. I can tell you that it is true that an Italian judge signed a warrant for his arrest and also signed a warrant for the arrest of a very high-ranking leading general who was responsible for the Leonardi satellites. The Italian government is up to their neck in this, but a deal is trying to be done with the United States or with Trump to say that can we please say that the Leonardi satellites were hacked, therefore it absolves the Italian government from prosecution. And I think the Americans might be saying, yes, okay, we'll accept that, but you've got to arrest X, Y, and Z. So that's what's happening in Italy. There was a considerable power outage in Berlin. Don't be surprised because we had all the Dominion servers in Frankfurt in Germany, and there was some administrative stuff in Berlin that had to be dealt with. That's that. There is a curfew in Quebec from 8 p.m. until 5 a.m. And if you're driving from United States into Canada and those borders, you might expect your car to be searched. I think they're stopping 1 in every 3 or 1 in every 5 as a random check. So that's going on there. Yesterday, regular troops, not National Guard, regular troops were deployed in California, and I did post that on my website, simonparks.org, and there are some troop movements. Yes, I know there are troop movements all over the place, it's regular, but this was part of this operation. Here's the exciting news. Well, it's all exciting, isn't it? But the Insurrection Act was signed last night. That is why I got the message, this is not a drill. So the Insurrection Act has been signed by the president. Do not expect President Trump to bother to go to Congress to be inaugurated. You American guys and lasses will know very well that it's not the first time that a president has been inaugurated in the White House. And I'm expecting the president to be inaugurated in the White House.
Really?
In terms of Britain, I also got a message. The people who are looking after me, can I put it like that, know where I live, and they've said that they are expecting some power outages in the United Kingdom, not for very long, but it could affect the pumps, the water pumps that pump our drinking water, and there could be in some areas a power outage with no water being pumped. So if you're in a position this morning or this afternoon, whenever you get this, get yourself some extra drinking water, perhaps fill a bathtub so you can flush your lavatory. Remember, if you have any pets like I do, make sure you keep your bathroom or doors closed. Don't let your pets fall and drown in the bath water. We should expect the big names that we all know and talk about not to go in this first phase. There will be a number of phases, and these phases will occur. Now, those of you who watched my, I thought it was quite nice chat with Charlie Ward and Nicholas, who was doing the hosting. I knew to an extent what was coming, and I couldn't sort of tell you guys exactly because I didn't know what day it was to be. We knew that it was Tuesday or Wednesday. There was always a possibility of bringing it forward. And if you want to play back that interview, I did my best to tell everybody. I can't remember if it was a question from Nicholas. I said, look, Charlie, don't you think we've reached the end of the road? Don't you think we've got to do it? I've got the joke of, the big stick, and people say to me, what is it with you Brits? You always want to get in there and start walloping. And I said to Charlie, don't you think we've reached the end of the game? Don't you think he needs to sign the Insurrection Act or what have you? And I think I said to Charlie, don't you think it's time to stop dancing around? That was the best thing I could do to say, look, I'm expecting Tuesday, Wednesday, but, they might bring this forward. So check that back and you'll see that I said that. And you'll also, if you check back, goodness knows if you have any time, but check back, and I said of Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, he's going to play a really important role in the coming weeks. And I said that he had to be pardoned because he couldn't hold office unless the president had pardoned him. And what I can tell you, within 20 minutes of him being pardoned, he had already received all of his top secret clearances, so he could go back into the Pentagon and do whatever he needed to do. Now, I can't confirm what I'm going to tell you now, but based on what I'd already told you guys about Flynn being really important, do not be surprised if Lieutenant General Flynn is put forward as the vice president under Trump in the coming administration. Ooh. So you sort of heard it here first, but I can't absolutely guarantee that. What I can say to you is that I already knew when he was pardoned and the conversations I had that there was a role, and I know some people get a bit cross with me and they were saying, oh, look at Simons telling the general what to do. No, I wasn't. I was just aware that Trump had a very big role for Lieutenant General Flynn. Now, that might end up being something else. It might be another post in government, but I wouldn't personally be surprised if he is offered the position of vice president, and Trump, of course, will be the president. In fact, the mainstream media, of course, at this stage will be able to successfully blank everything out. They will be, because they are not the target at the moment. And it's so important that, you don't watch mainstream news. Don't watch any clips of the president, because they will be CGI changed. What? They will be hacked so that they don't make any sense, or they will just not be carried. You need to get on to those patriot sites that have agreed to carry the president's message in full. If those main sites can't operate because Silicon Valley takes them down, then the emergency broadcast service will be used for the United States, including Hawaii, of course, which will come onto your cell phones and will broadcast messages to you.
That's crazy.
But that really and truly is a last resort.
Yeah.
And so it's unfolding. Don't expect it within the lightning 24 hours. This is going to have to go on up to about the 19th of January. And
is this for
thereafter,
real?
All of the middle rankers, all of the deeply dug in assets again have to be dealt with. But what has to happen is that Biden has to be arrested and has to be public. I personally don't want any sort of side deals with the man. We were seeing released pictures. I asked them not to be shown around my network, except we have what we call in Mimi Pro, we have what we call the dark corner, because I don't want to stop information, but I don't want people who are in my organization who, you know, are going to be traumatized by some of this stuff. So we have what we call the dark corner, and there were pictures that the military have released of Biden's laptop, which are paedophilia photographs. And I know members were very critical of Becky, saying, you know, you're pulling these. No, she acted under my orders, because there are plenty of members of Connecting Consciousness who themselves are survivors of ritual abuse and of paedophilia. And it's not right for them to open their laptops and then be hit with that picture. That isn't about healing, that's trauma. So I've had those removed, and we're going to put those in the dark corner. They are genuine pictures of Hunter Biden. Some of them, one of them has done the rounds before, and the mainstream pulled it very quickly, even closing some sites that were operating it. But there are new pictures which are available. I don't particularly. I've seen them once, and I don't need to see them again. I did write that this man needs to be locked up. So this is the situation.
I've never seen porno.
You know, I don't get I get the timings.
I've never seen pedo porn.
And
you know what?
Literally within an hour,
I have no desire to.
Can change. So there were some people who got very cross. Look, you know, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to be given a warning and then say, I better not go with this, because do you know what? In an hour,
I'm going to end
these
it in a
people
few
might
minutes,
pull
guys.
this time back. No, my job is to alert you. My job is to tell you. And if I don't get the timings right, I give you the timings that are correctly given to me. But I'm not sitting in the operations room in Texas and the other two operations rooms that President Trump is in. President Trump is not in Camp David at the moment. He's underground with his family in secure locations. As the person said to me, as snug as a bug in a rug. So very well protected. And these timings, hello, come and say hello. Come on, Fran. These timings are accurately given to me. These actions, hello, Guy, accurately given. But they will change at a moment's notice. And as much as perhaps these people do like me, they've got so many other things on their mind that if they told me, look, it's going to happen at whatever time, whatever day, and then it's brought forward or put back 4 or 5 hours.
It's the last of my
They will say,
medical marijuana in here.
has alerted his network. They need to be.
Gonna have half now.
And if it's 4 or 5 hours either way, it
It's a
doesn't
big ass
matter,
serving.
because the message has got out. If somebody's going to start moaning at me, you said it would happen now, and it happened 4 hours or 5 hours later. Well, honestly, I've got more on my plate at the moment to deal with than that sort of nonsense. My job is to get the message out. It's your job, if you don't like to do your research.
So good with the
to hit as
quinoa.
many of these sites that are still operating and get that information. And do
But I got to be fasting, so I can't eat
you know, we're getting, of course, we're getting a lot of the Antifa, Black Lives Matter attack now. I expect that. I will be as open and truthful with you as I can, and when I'm told I can't disclose something, I'll disclose it in another way, because I am absolutely committed to giving you the truth and the facts that are given to me. But if I'm only getting it from one source, I will wait until I get an independent source that corroborates it, and then I'm confident, and I'll give it to you guys. There is one source that I don't have to do that with. There's one source that comes to me, that's coming from a member of somebody that's close with the decision-making team. I don't need a second on that one. I'll get that. I'll go with it. And that's the one that said to me, this is no drill, and you know, I'm getting that information. So we've had blackout in Pakistan. I've explained why. Blackout in Berlin has to do with Dominion and some individuals. We've got the closing of some of the borders between the United States and Canada. That's because I'm particularly worried about a group trying to escape into Canada. I can tell you that the United States Air Force is absolutely watching the skies for any private aircraft attempting to leave that doesn't have authorization. I can tell you that the United States Coast Guard and the Navy are looking for any private yachts or boats that are trying to break cover and escape. This is a very exciting time. It's what we predicted. Mainstream will, at the moment, be able to cover this because it's not. It's
Man,
not a
I
big
hope so.
tsunami. They can cover it. We're building towards that.
I really hope so.
The difficulty with the Pope. Sorry, I'm going back, but it's been an exciting time. The difficulty with the Pope is that I received one piece of information in the summer of last year that he'd already been taken out. Do you remember that TV thing where the Pope, news broadcast where the Pope came to the window to address the faithful, and then he disappeared before he went back in? I can confirm to you that was either a holograph or CGI. I personally believe it was holograph. I've had these holographs demonstrated to me, and I talked to Charlie Ward about that. That's why I deliberately did it, because I knew that the Pope was going to be one of the first targets. But I couldn't tell you that, but I could just tell you about the holograph. When you see it side on, it's as thin as a piece of paper. So if, let us say that the Pope has already been removed and was removed last summer, it's very easy to arrest a dead man. It's very easy for Italy to say, yeah, we've arrested the Pope. Because it's no skin off their nose, as we say in Great Britain. There's no problem for them. There's no issue for them. But let's just say he's not dead. Then they will have to, at some point, arrest him, because he's absolutely implicated in the satellites were controlled by the Vatican. If he's no longer there, then it's some of the cardinals who are deeply embedded with the satanic forces that have manipulated that. Now, if that news comes out, that's why Italy and a lot of Catholics in strong positions, in the good guys' positions, in the white hats, are very unhappy about releasing information around the Catholic faith, because it will destroy the Catholic faith. It will destroy it to its core if it was released that the Pope indeed had been involved in paedophilia, or had done this or had done that.
Oh,
so
shit.
That's a really difficult one. Now, for those of us who fight the good fight, we would say, so what? And I would say, let the truth come out. I've always consistently said that the public need to have all the truth laid out on the table in front of them, because I personally believe that people can take it. I personally believe that people have the right to see everything and then make their own mind up. Well, I'm not in America yet. I'm not there making those decisions. And so you might well find that the decision is made that the damage in destroying what is perhaps the world's biggest religion from the Western perspective is not worth having. But it's all playing out, it's all happening, and I will give you the updates. All my updates are sent to my website, simonparks.org. And we will just see where it goes. So that's my main news.
My sink is a mess.
And good luck. And
just like my gut.
if there's emergency
boy.
amongst your cell phone in the United States.
All right, so fizzy drinks. It's gonna be my last recipe, then I'm gonna end the stream.
To listen to.
This is how I do it. I get a lemon.
They are at war now with the Republic, and that's where we are with it. So thanks very much.
Cut it in half.
I hope Andy will be in a position to get this out quickly. Thanks very much. Take care. Hello. Just a very, very quick follow-on. I don't normally respond like this, but lots of people have written in and saying, no, Simon, you're wrong. This was a power outage or a blackout in Germany last year, 2019, or just over a year ago now. Yeah, I am aware that there was a blackout in 2019. I'm not mistaken what's happened now with what happened before. This is a much smaller area than last time. This is to do with a certain amount of equipment that is in Berlin.
Fucking mold in this one. What the hell?
Yes, I know the photograph is old, but my tech guy loves me to put pictures, and I couldn't put a photograph of France, the Arc de Triomphe, or London, House of Parliament, or Big Ben. So I had to find a picture that was German, And that picture that I used was great because it had the Brandenburg Gate on it. So just because I might use a photograph that is a year old doesn't mean I'm looking back to old information. You know, there has been power blackout in Berlin, not all of Berlin, part of Berlin, part of the operation, just the same as there's been in Pakistan, just as the same as we've got situations on the border with Canada, just as the same that the stuff going on in Italy,
just as the same,
stuff's
just
going to
as the
happen in
same.
Britain and other countries as well. And I would respectfully ask you, instead of jumping on the bandwagon and criticizing me or telling me I'm wrong, why don't you go and listen to somebody else? You know, if you think you've got up-to-date intel, if you have the sort of sources I've got, why are you listening to me? You go out and do your own thing.
Damn, you butthurt, bro.
I'm far too busy to be bothered with that sort of criticism at the moment. You're sitting in your armchair. You haven't a concept of what's taking place on the planet. This is the most important thing since the Second World War. Some people would say it was even more important because at least the United States was still the United States back then. And now the good guys are fighting for the heart and soul of the United States. But the last time that we had a situation as serious as this was the Second World War. And remember, this isn't nonsense because the House Speaker, Majority House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, was attempting to take the nuclear codes off the president. She was attempting to get the military to prevent
let's see.
Chief of the Staff, POTUS, Commander-in-Chief,
Half a lemon.
actually having control of that. Now, obviously, it didn't work. That's how serious it is. That's how this war is now out in the open. So please, if you think you know better than I do, why don't you go and do your own podcast and you can tell people.
I think you know you can do better than I do.
My best. I do it with a good heart, and the information I get, I can be as clear as I can with it, and I will continue to do so because I think the majority of people who listen to me want to hear up-to-date news. They want to be able to plan their life. They want to be able to know what's going on because they know they cannot rely on mainstream media. All right, thank you.
Celtic. Tiny bit.
So this is coming from everywhere all of a sudden, and we're going to unpack what we know at this hour. But we do know that.
Okay. Crazy times, crazy times. The only thing I could do is be my best self so I can deal with the whatever happens. And beyond that, whatever's happening can't stop me from fulfilling my destiny. So I used the pumpkin seed cheese for lunch and dinner yesterday, and breakfast this morning. And then I used the pomegranates to bring me some prosperity with my pumpkin seed cheese. The next time that I eat something, it's going to be pumpkin seed cheese. I'm not going to eat anything else besides my pumpkin seed cheese, also known as dino cheese. I'm not going to eat all this week because I have to spar again on Friday, so I'm going to empty out as best I can and then just relax. Not relax, but rest the intestine. Gonna spar on Friday, try to make an underground fight club with the local teens, and get to other gyms and fight some other people. Next Sunday, I'm going to be selling my dino cheese at the health food store, and I'm hoping to make 10 cheeses at $20 each, so I can make $200, put that towards more stuff, and just keep the dino cheese going, build it as a product. It's the logo sketch that I did today. Basically, it's going to have my dinosaur humanoid Mega. He wears an Iron Man suit. He's my logo, or mascot. And he's going to be coming out of a circle that's kind of shaped like my logo, other logo. and then the circle is going to say dino cheese on it. And so I wrap up the wheel, and then I use the sticker, which is the logo, you know, kind of like you would a rubber stamp, I guess. But it'd be a sticker, you know. So, just heating up the water for my lemon fizzy. Now, instead of just hot water, I could have used yerba mate, but I don't need any caffeine right now. So, water's warm enough. I really just need to melt the honey into the cup, into the lemon. So, I don't need it to be boiling, but it is steaming. You know, I got the steam coming off. So, it's just gonna mix up the honey. Okay, so that's mixed. And then the last thing I do is I left a little room on top because I'm going to take baking soda here. I'm going to take about a quarter teaspoon. Mix it in. Nice head. Puffed up good. Might have put too much honey. And these are great. It just makes me go poop, which is, let's see, I had half a wheel of cheese when I got home from sparring Friday night. And then I had 2 meals yesterday of dino cheese. The first meal was pistachios and dino cheese. I think the second meal was also pistachio and dino cheese, or maybe apples and dino cheese. And then today, this morning, for breakfast, I just ate a wheel of dino cheese. Then I had to get honey for these lemon fizzies all week. So I got 3 pomegranates. I ate one on the way home, ate 2 just now on stream. And now I'm going to be doing lemon fizzies to poop all that stuff out over the course of the next couple of days. Then there's the, I need a little more lemon in this one. There's the mucosal lining of the intestine, so I want to keep doing these lemon fizzies all week to keep my intestine cleaned out. So as I'm detoxing, it's like you know when you have to blow your nose, that type of thing is going to be going on in my gut, I think. So I'm going to keep flushing and and pooping all week and as best I can, because on Friday I'm going to spar. I want to be completely emptied out. Put too much honey, so I'm trying to even out the flavor with some lemon. I like squeezing it like this because I use the knife and the the knife takes the pulp out, so it's like, you know, when you have if you've ever had like a tea or a hot chocolate or a coffee or a bubble tea, where you have like you're just drinking something, but then there's like little pieces of something that you chew also, or like if you have a thing of ice, a glass with ice in it, and then like you sip it, and then you get some ice too in your mouth. Shoot, I'm running out of baking soda. I'm gonna have to get some. It's fizzing. Still sweet, holy. So I'll be doing these all week instead of eating. Plus I got the Life Colloid probiotic coming in. So I'm gonna have to go 2 weeks. The first week, just empty out, and then when the probiotic comes in this week, once I'm emptied out, I'll start to eat that. And that's just this and either coconut or palm oil, or a mixture of that. I'll make the formula on stream. I guess I'll end for now. No more questions. Over and out.